Oh, I'm live and I'm supposed to do a countdown, but I didn't even do the countdown. Anyways, well, hello, World Wide Web to everybody out there that's watching. Good afternoon and welcome to Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Podcast. This is your go-to source for all things related to living, working, and playing on the East Side. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, please like and share as we can get this out to more people. If you're watching later, you can comment and we'll reply back to your comments at a later date. You can definitely hear these podcasts anywhere podcasts are podcasted. We have them on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Those are just a few of the ones that we have. Please rate and subscribe and come back for more captivating content. This is going to probably be the best podcast you have ever heard in your entire life. So I'm so glad you're here because we're going to have some great information for you. But of course, before we get to our guests, which are Tucker Maxwell with Guild Mortgage and Brandon Brockway Ring of Key Home Inspection Services of Washington. But before that, let's kind of talk about what's going on in the market. In our Real Talk segment, we're going to talk a little bit about pricing a home, but I want to kind of share with you what's going on in the market. So I am going to present a screen capture here, this guy. All right, so let's take a look at what is happening in the market. So every month I review the numbers in great detail to kind of get a finger on the pulse of what's happening, where we're headed, and basically so that I know how to advise my sellers to price their home. If you take a look at this chart, what we're looking at are three of the larger cities on the east side, Bellevue, Kirkland, and Issaquah. And on a side-by-side comparison, you can kind of see that these are the homes for sale in those areas. And as you kind of slide across, you can see this is January of 2020, and this is, it looks like March of 2023. One thing that stands out is we are not at pre-pandemic levels of inventory. Matter of fact, if we actually move this back 10 years, we can kind of take a look and see where we sit as far as inventory. And it looks like in 2019, and I felt this in the fall of 2019, we were starting to have a balancing market, meaning this inventory was moving up in the right direction. And what happened? Well, what happened is interest rates fell, and that kept people in the market. And then the pandemic hit, and we thought, oh gosh, this is going to fall some more as far as home inventory would increase. But actually the converse happened, is more people came out buying because they were uncomfortable in their home. And so essentially we are still below where we should be, which is quite honestly somewhere right around here would be nice. But that's the inventory number historically speaking. Now, when we talk about pricing a home, what we really are doing is looking in the rearview mirror somewhat, but also looking forward. I just met with a gentleman yesterday talking about the pricing on his house, and this is how I shared it to him. I said, essentially, we'll talk about a price today, but when we actually go to list a house, we are then going to look at your competition. So all of what the statistics are showing you is the history. It's not showing you what's actively available. But let's, for some context and information, let's look at the percentage of list price. So what this shows is that the pricing and the velocity of the market for sellers between 2021 and really May of last year was an anomaly, right? And actually, if we even go back 10 years, we can kind of see, historically speaking, that there isn't really this idea that homes are going to be selling for, 5, 6, 7% above asking price. So mostly you see stuff here. Now, the second chart is percentage of original price. Now, that's an interesting one because you're kind of seeing a little bit more change. You see the market jump up, and then what we're probably going to see is a little bit of a trough here, which is evidenced here in 2020, where homes for a period, and that looks like it was leading up to 2020, so 2019, the end of the year, because of the inventory numbers that were going up, we're actually seeing kind of a pullback, right? So what feels like falling prices is actually people looking at the list price and then comparing it against the others. So I'm bringing back in the conversation about other properties and how they compare, and deciding that this home is not worth it. So they go to another home that's lower in price for the same features. So as we look going forward, this is what's super weird about the time right now is we can take this funky looking chart and go back to days on market, and you'll see that we are still down below, it looks like 5, 6, 7 days, even though we have this idea that prices are falling. And that is mostly because of this here, homes for sale. So interest rates are pulling buyers off the market. Sellers are choosing not to make the move. I think this spring should get stronger as buyers get a little bit more confident in the interest rates staying in a spot where they don't get sticker shock. And we'll talk with Tucker some of the other tools and tips that are helping folks there. So long story short is there's a lot that goes into pricing a home. What I did today was just kind of lay the groundwork for understanding what's going on in the market. It's a very unique situation. And I would say that from a standpoint of maximizing the sale of the house is you have to be very conservative in your list price, understanding that by overpricing a property, it's going to sit on the market, and then a price drop will happen. When a price drop happens, potential buyers are looking at that as what's wrong with the home. So we want to not undervalue the property or underprice the property, because it will deter some skeptical buyers, but we want to actually find a fair market value, one that fits in really nicely. And as a real estate professional doing this for 20 years, just to be clear, if somebody calls me and asks me for a price of a home, it comes down to understanding their needs and wants, their timeline, and then understanding their specific market. So if somebody just throws out a price, they probably don't know what they're doing. They're probably just trying to get a listing. So, all right. Well, the bottom line is this: price your home at the current market value. It will sell faster. It will be a more solid contract, and you'll maximize the net that you receive. So if you're interested in learning about selling your house in this market, I'd love the opportunity to chat. That is our Real Talk segment. Next up, after the Real Talk segment, we're going to be welcoming back our mortgage specialist, Tucker Maxwell. We had a guest last week, so it'll be good to hear from him. So come back after this short commercial break.
Tired of the same old conversations at networking events that never lead to new clients? BNI is changing the way the world does business by connecting you to strategic relationships that can help you grow your business. BNI is the world's largest networking organization, helping hundreds of thousands of members around the world each year increase revenue through relationship marketing. For information about visiting a BNI chapter near you, go to the BNI Northwest website at bninw.com.
Oh, welcome back to the show. I'm Dan Edwards, managing broker of the Eastside Real Estate Team, and you're listening to Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Podcast. And we are joined again by our good friend, Tucker Maxwell. Tucker, where'd you go last week?
I went to Arizona. I was getting some sunshine.
There you go, to get some sunshine. A little vacation. Did you do anything fun?
I did. I played 5 rounds of golf, which was fantastic. And
5?
Are you familiar with Phoenix at all?
Oh, yeah.
I did the Verado stairs, which is it's a hike, like 300 and something stairs. And so the family that I was staying with challenged me to how many sets of stairs can I do in 30 minutes?
Okay. And
I completed 4 sets of stairs in about 22 minutes and then gave up.
Oh, you were done.
Yeah. And I felt it for a few days afterward.
Yeah, that was stupid. Why'd you do that?
When a challenge is presented, we go after it.
So my mother-in-law lives in that neighborhood in Buckeye.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So did you play Victory?
No, we were in Pebble Creek. So we played the Pebble Creek, Eagles Nest, and Tuscany Falls West and East.
Okay, so those 3 courses you played 5 rounds?
Yep.
How'd you shoot?
Pretty good. High 80s.
Wow, impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay, our listeners are like, why are you guys talking about that? Anyways, vacation homes. Well, it's kind of along the lines of our topic today, because there is a very high percentage of snowbirds, people that have second homes. Heck, one of our other guests, former colleague, is planning on moving down to Phoenix, Arizona. So let's talk about second homes. What is from a lender's standpoint? What is the definition of a second home?
Yeah, so it's essentially a second primary residence. So it's a home where you plan to spend some time there, not necessarily as your primary residence, not the address that you're going to file taxes to or anything like that, but it is a property that you are going to spend some time in throughout the year, and possibly share it with family and friends as well. But there are some key components to it being a second home specifically.
Okay, it's not the same thing as a vacation home.
It can be. It definitely can be. I think where the confusion comes in is, the location of this home. Second homes don't necessarily have to be in a vacation destination. We live here on Seattle's east side, but we could have a vacation home in Vancouver, Washington, if we wanted. If that's a place that you vacation to see family, it's not typically a place we think of as a vacation destination. But if that's where you want to have a second home, you can have one there.
So what are the benefits of a second home versus an investment property?
Yeah, so first, we allow less down payment. So you can get into a second home with as little as 10% down. And so the barrier to entrance is less there from a cash to close perspective. Secondly, the interest rate is much better than an investment property. And so you're getting a break on your initial investment plus the interest that you're charged on this loan.
So can you rent out the second home on a short-term basis, long-term?
Yeah, that's the big question today is with the prevalence of Airbnbs, VRBOs, and the ability to short-term rent it. Why not take advantage of that when you're here on the east side, enjoying the sunshine here? You're not in Phoenix when it's 110 degrees. So can I rent it out, or vice versa? I want to be here skiing in the winter, and so can I rent my property out in Arizona in the winter months to snowbirds? And the answer is yes. Technically, you can rent it out. You just need to be careful when you are buying a second home. Really, you're buying it to use the property, and you could run into a situation where questions are asked if it's quickly becomes an investment property, and we see that on your tax return. But every state has specific rules, laws, regulations around how many days a second home needs to be occupied by the owner for it to be considered a second home. And it's pretty minimal, like 10 days, a week. It depends on the state. And as long as you don't rent it out for the entire 365-day term of the year, it perfectly satisfies the requirement to be a second home and still have the ability to rent it out.
Okay. What about buying a second home that's near your primary residence?
Yeah, so this is another question we get often is how far away does a vacation home need to be in order for it to be considered a vacation or a second home? And really that's going to come down to the underwriter. It needs to make sense, Dan. But usually you're talking 50 to 100 miles away. But it could make sense too as well. If we have a home here on Seattle's east side and somebody owns a property on the Puget Sound over in Island County, we may not be outside of 100 miles, but that could be considered a vacation home and a vacation destination. Friday Harbor is not somewhere where you and I live, but we could have a vacation home over there and it's within that mileage proximity as a bird flies. So there are some regulations around it, but it just needs to make sense. If you live on the east side and your residence is in Redmond and you're trying to buy a second home in downtown Bellevue, an underwriter might question that because really you're going to drive 15 minutes to your second home. That wouldn't be considered a legitimate second home. So it just needs to make sense.
Gotcha. Obviously, if you were maybe on Woodby Island, right, or maybe on Bainbridge or something like that, yeah. But going all the way, going 15 minutes, yeah, I can see that. Okay, so can I convert a vacation home into a rental property, and do I have to refinance it?
Yeah, again, this has come up recently too, and with my primary resident buyers as well. So how long do I need to live in a property before I can convert it to a different type? And really, we just need to watch the disclosures that you sign when signing loan documents. When you buy a primary residence or a second home for that matter, you're telling the lender that you plan to occupy that property for 1 year, or your intention is to occupy it for 1 year. Outside of that 1 year, it's really up to you. Circumstances change. You can convert it to a rental property if you want. And there's no need to necessarily refinance that loan. Like, of course, you need to check with your lender. Maybe you're on a portfolio loan or something that doesn't fit conventional financing. But on conventional FHA, VA loans, those loans don't typically require you to refinance when you convert it. However, if you do have a VA loan or an FHA loan and you convert it to an investment property, you can't then go out and reuse your VA benefits for another primary residence until you do refinance that property. So again, it's going to come down to your loan, but for your typical conventional home buyers, we buy as a primary residence, we live in it for a while, we then convert that to a rental and then move up to a larger home or maybe downsize to a smaller home, depending on where you're at in the life cycle. But yeah, it's perfectly acceptable to keep the loan that you have in place.
Yeah, and I think the point is this is when you go to apply for a loan, don't lie to your loan officer. Don't lie to try and get a better rate. If you are buying a property that is going to be a rental, you probably shouldn't sign a disclosure that says it's your primary residence. Correct?
100%. Yep. And they're going to check. It's pretty easy for us to check if you file income from a rental property on your tax return that same year, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. I wonder what the consequences are.
Yeah, mortgage fraud. They'll call that note due.
Oh, I see. Mortgage fraud causes it due. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's very interesting. All right. Okay. So that's, I think that's all the questions I have. So what are the states that you're able to finance right now?
So we're licensed to do business in 48 states as a company. So Guild Mortgage helps people in every state except for like New York and New Jersey, the difficult states to get into. I think a bigger question is, where are we seeing these second homes purchased most frequently right now? And I would say it's the Gulf Shores. So Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Arizona. Your sunny locations are where we're seeing most people buy these second homes for the most part.
South Carolina,
the big one, right, Dan?
Yeah, I have my second home there. Yeah.
Did you watch the RBC tournament there?
I actually played golf on that course the day before.
Oh, good for you.
So I set it up for him. I gave him some tips, let him know where to hit, where not to hit. So
nice. Told him it was a little challenge.
Where not to hit was the water, which is where I hit a lot.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Tucker, thanks so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it. It's a great conversation. Vacation homes, it's time to start thinking about it. And please do reach out to Tucker. Like you said, he can help you in 48 states, maybe not directly, but there are agents that he works with. Same here. I know agent in every single city and state in the United States, and we can help you with your second home. We want to help you with your second home. So, all right. Thanks a lot. We were going to come back after this short commercial break where we are bringing on Brandon Brockway-Ring from Key Inspection Services. Come back after this short break.
Are you tired of not knowing where your money is going? Do you feel like you start getting ahead on your finances, then get hit by an unexpected expense and feel behind? Doug Peterson with Get Priorities Straight helps guide you to getting your money to do what you want it to do instead of wondering where it went. Doug has helped ambitious, busy, successful people be delighted by handling their money wisely. To have a conversation with Doug, call 206-264-4424 or email meeting@letsgps.com or info@getprioritiesstraight.com.
Welcome back to the show. I am Dan Edwards, and you are listening to Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Team's podcast. We're here with Brandon Brockway-Ring. Brandon is the owner of Key Inspection Services, LLC, the company that's been around for about 20 years. He took over the company recently after being the lead inspector for the past 8. He comes from a family that is in the construction industry. And as per him, he still remembers running around on roofs when he was less than 5 years old, learning all the aspects of building a house through his entire life. He got into home inspections after trying a different route. Now, I want to ask you the question is, did you ever, while running around on a roof, think about grabbing a big piece of plastic and jumping off like a parachute? Did you ever do that?
I actually probably at one point did do that.
Yeah. The first time I did it was no good. The second time I did it, I made sure to throw some mattresses out so that it stopped my landing. So I learned trial and error. You know, when you hit your tailbone on the ground off of a 10, 12-foot roof, you'll learn, okay, next time we'll do a better parachute, and next time we'll do mattresses so that we have an insurance there. And that was fun. So tell me about the home you grew up in. That's a question I like to ask all my first-time guests is, this is a show about real estate, and quite honestly, it's a show about homes, right? We're going to get into the nitty-gritty about inspections, but tell me about the fond memory you had of the house you grew up in.
Wow, yeah, I actually grew up in northern Indiana. It was my dad, we had picked up the house and we moved it at one point and then expanded onto it. So I grew up on many acres of land out in the middle of a cornfield area. So it was quite fun to, do experience how the additions were put on, seeing all the different things. I remember our basement flooding at one point and learning how to deal with a flooded basement to just all the components that come into the house. Like I said, running around the house, we had an antenna in the back. So, running around on the roof. So something that stands out is I do remember that because we could climb this antenna and we would take all the fall leaves and put them into a big pile. And we would jump off the roof into those when you talk about jumping off the roof.
There you go.
And so we used leaves, and it was only, probably not even 10 feet off the ground, but we learned how to tuck and roll really well and see who could bounce the highest.
I mean, you're made out of rubber at that age. I mean, as long as you think carefully about how you're going to land. Well, okay, so today's topic is what is wrong with my house and sewer line. So quick question from you is, if you're just a homeowner and you're not listing or you're not selling, why get a home inspection?
Well, there's so many things that go on with a home that it's just really good to be informed. I mean, the best part about a home inspection versus trying to get all these contractors out is you can hire one person to go out and look at all these components rather than getting all these contractors out. With homes nowadays, people are living in them more, so there's a lot more wear and tear on the sewer lines to your gas lines, electrical, everything just takes a lot more wear and tear. There's more just moisture in the house. There's just so many factors into the house. And a lot of times it's also easier to fix things before they actually become a larger issue. So a small roof leak, for example, if you get somebody to go up there, look around your attic, they happen to see it's just a small leak now, that's great before it's ran down for months and months, all winter long, essentially, because I don't know if you heard, it does rain here some. Yeah. And so as that leak just gets worse, all it's going to do is cause all that additional damage. But if you catch it beforehand, it's really smart to get them. That's one thing, because we do maintenance inspections as well. And that'll just kind of alert you to say, hey, I need to do maintenance on this, prevent it from becoming a bigger problem.
Yeah, I think a really good point is if you've been in your house for 5 years, okay, and you haven't done a lot of deferred maintenance, ordering a home inspection, I think for the one reason is if you call, let's say you walk outside and you look at your house and you're like, something's going on with the soffit up there, right? And I'm sorry, for those of you that don't know, the soffit is the underside of an eave in a house, right? So you look up, and a lot of times there'll be like some mold sitting on there, or something black, or just kind of water will be dripping down alongside it. So who do you call? Do you call a finish carpenter? Do you call a roofer? Do you call mold specialist, an attic cleaner, right? Any kind of person. Who do you call? And by getting a home inspection, my history with this over the last 17 years is you're getting somebody, like Brennan said, their job is to look at the systems as a whole and pick out the problems and then provide you with, here's who you should call. First, call the roofer. Second, call this. Third, do that. So I think if you've owned a home for 5 years and you haven't been in the crawl space and you don't want to go, I don't like going in crawl spaces. Schedule a home inspection. So that brings me to my second question is how do people schedule with you, Brent?
We make it really simple for key inspections. So you can easily go to our website. When you go to our website, just click on where it says schedule now. There's usually 3 different spots. We make sure to make it as simple as possible. From there, you can just select what kind of package you want. So if you want it with a sewer scope, if you want it with a mold, if you want it with, we do a lot water testing to thermal imaging. We do a lot of packages. So on there, you can just do that. If not, you can call the number that's at the bottom of the screen that's scrolling across. I'll get you into the office. So if you have additional questions, you can talk to Curtis, my office manager, or we also have another, like it's a virtual assistant. They can help answer any questions as well. So we give you as many avenues and make it as simple as we can. People tend to easily just book online. We get most of them are all just done right through our website.
Okay. So you've got an inspection when you're a buyer. You get into contract subject to inspection. That's the most common point of entry for somebody with you. There's also a pre-inspection. So a listing agent like myself is going to have you pre-inspect it so that we go to market. We've got a clear idea of any problems that might arise in negotiations, and so those are the two most common. And then within that, there's this idea of a lot of people not inspecting new construction. So why would you inspect new construction? I mean, it's a brand new built house. It's just passed codes with the city of Bothell. Why should you inspect it?
That is one of the best questions. And so a lot of people do skip on new construction inspections, but what they don't understand is city inspectors do not go on roofs. They don't really look at them. They don't crawl in crawl spaces. They don't go into attics. They're not required to. So a lot of times if you're there and you happen to see the city inspector there, which I see them regularly when I'm at those, when they look in the attic, they just pop their head in there. They're not really looking around very well. They're just basically seeing how levels of insulation. They're not seeing if a truss is broken or if you have mold growth in there or if you have, any number of issues. Same with the crawl space. There could be an issue around the corner in the crawl space, but they don't crawl through entire crawl space. And the quality of the work that they're doing now, they are building, we've got a lot. You should follow What the Fridays we have. And we also have something called What's Wrong Wednesdays. We find some pretty funny stuff that it's amazing what builders miss that we see. An example would be just the other day, Justin, my inspector that lives up on Camino Island, he was doing an inspection there and there's these boxes on the roof, they're roof vents. And those boxes are designed to shed water away. Well, these people were doing their 11-month warranty inspection and none of those boxes were there. They just had holes in their roof. And they had it's been mild enough. They had some water staining. They just thought it was normal. They didn't know it was different, that was an issue. Well, they had just a bunch of water going into their attic. And so I got probably endless stories of things, that new construction builds have done where I've been able to pull floor joists out where they were never nailed, glued, nothing done properly. The stories could go on and on and on. I would highly recommend new construction inspections. It's wild what we find.
Yeah. I mean, I've found places with insulation missing in the attic, and it's one subcontractor was out there and they thought so-and-so was done and they put this over the top and they didn't really even come back and check. So in my opinion, with the quality or the low amount of quality that we're seeing in the product that we have nowadays, man, if you don't get it inspected, I mean, you're throwing away a lot of money because I guarantee an inspector will find something on new construction. Okay, so let's, because we kind of have limited time, and I think what I'm going to do is we're going to have you back on for a couple more segments as we get more specific, but let's get to the sewer line deal. Why get a sewer line inspected?
This is something that we've been doing for many years now, and there's so much that can go on with the sewer line. One thing that people don't realize sometimes is how expensive sewer line repairs can be, and I would recommend even new construction getting them done. I can tell you we just had one recently where they have to actually tear apart the entire front porch and front of the house basically because they didn't realize they crushed the sewer line on a brand new home. And so there's a lot of things that can become an issue with it. Anywhere from a for sale sign being driven through it, a fence post being driven through it, water lines, gas lines through them. Cracks, wear and tear. One thing I would also recommend, anytime somebody takes an old house, tears it down, and they put a new development on there, they don't all the time update the entire sewer line. And a lot of times what we hear is they're like, oh, brand new sewer line, but it's only a foot or two of it. And so they're saying it's a new sewer line. And we throw the camera down there, send it down, look and see. And we're like, well, it was repaired for that little section, but you have a collapsed line the rest of the way.
Wow.
And so we've seen some pretty wild stuff. I would say on any age of home, though, it's worth getting a sewer line inspected. We've been seeing a material called Orangeburg as well on the east side a lot more. And basically it's a sewer line made of lots of paper glued together.
What?
It's pretty wild.
Who did that?
You know, these engineers, they get crafty.
That's insane. So that's a newer product that existed sometime. Is there a date range?
Yeah, that was more in like the 70s. They were using that. So if you have a home from the 70s, I would really recommend it. You know, when they send the camera down, any one of our inspectors, we're all certified in everything we do. We make sure we're all certified in it. They'll be able to identify the oval shape. It's kind of egg shaped down the way, and you got Orangeburg, and it'll start peeling, just kind of like paper would start wearing away. It's pretty wild stuff. So yeah, anything with sewer can get very expensive though. We do the inspections for $225 when you do it with a home inspection, but a sewer line could cost you easily $5,000, depending on the repair, to over $80,000 plus for repairs. And you probably have heard of or had experience as well with that.
Thankfully, none of I've not had any of my clients with issues. And generally speaking, I've always recommended it on, spots in Kirkland where the homes were built around the turn of the century. And I think, it's something that I would recommend on a lot of homes. And it really does depend though on kind of like what kind of signs of like things draining slowly, stuff like that, things that came up on the inspection. But you bundle it together, right? So therefore, it's more economical for everybody. So I love that. That's great. All right. Well, listen, we want to have you on again. I understand there's a promotion that you're willing to offer right now.
Yes. Yeah. If you go online and book or call in, it's all lowercase. It's case sensitive. Save 5. They'll give you 5% off. So any one of the packages you book, just a standard home inspection, premium inspection, premium pro, or elite. Just depends on what you really want inspected. Use that and you'll get 5% off.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. I so appreciate you coming on today. Now I guess I get to celebrate that we just passed. Oh, I guess I should do this. There, I got rid of Brandon. He's still alive. I didn't take him out, but obviously. Okay, so I will. If you did file your taxes, I think it was due yesterday was the tax deadline. So get those done, and congratulations to all of you non-procrastinators out there that got them done. I want to commend you on job well done. So yeah, great job. I mean, you got it done on time. Well done. So you should celebrate. What should you do? Well, go check out the downtown Bellevue Park. There's going to be some fun stuff happening for Earth Day that's coming up. And let's see, when is Earth Day? It is, and there's a place called Forum Social House that has some nightcap series stuff going on, 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. This week. What else? Oh, Earth Day. I lost it. I'm going to Google it. Did we miss Earth Day too? Yeah, Saturday, April 22nd. I thought I had something here that I was supposed to be looking at. So Saturday, go hug a tree. It's supposed to be nice out. Go hug a tree. That concludes my show. I want to thank Brandon. Thanks, Tucker, for coming on. Appreciate it, guys. So appreciate you. Great information, and we'll see you back next time.
Yep. Thanks, Dan.